Hughes.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I move the motion relating to fertility rates in the terms in which it appears on the notice paper.
Call the member for Hughes.
Thank you. Deputy Speaker, in October of this year, the Government's Centre for Population released its research policy and paper that is headed "Fertility Decline in Australia, is it here to stay?" And, Deputy Speaker, that had some very troubling statistics in it and some very troubling news for us as a country going forward. Essentially, the paper provides that fertility rates in Australia continue to decline. They've continued to decline over the past 2.5 years under this Albanese Labor government. The average number of children born to Australian women in 2023 is now 1.5. In Australia, fertility outcomes are lower than fertility desires. So this means, Deputy Speaker, that Australian women want to have more children, but because of a series of circumstances, they are unable to. And the two main reasons that were identified in the government's own research paper have been cost of living pressures that have caused Australians to postpone childbearing and the high cost of housing that has made it increasingly difficult for young adults to achieve their home ownership goals prior to starting a family. And, Deputy Speaker, the impacts of longer-term low fertility on a country such as Australia are very significant, bearing in mind that we currently, despite our very large landmass, only have a population of around 25 million. Over the past 30 years, the total fertility rates in Australia have continued to decline overall. There have been times when there were peaks under the Howard Costello government, for example, when the baby bonus was brought in. And, Deputy Speaker, I'm very proud to say that I was one of the beneficiaries of those of that back in 2006 when I had my children, James and Nicholas. But overall, fertility rates have declined, but they've taken a very sharp decline under this government. And when we see why that is occurring, it has been sheeted home that it is the cost of living under this government. Most people that are trying to purchase a home or are paying off a mortgage have had 12 interest rate rises under this Labor government. Cost of housing has never been more expensive than it is under this government. And what we have seen is one of the authors of the report, Ms Cho, said the long-term decline in fertility of younger mums, as well as a continued increase in fertility of older mums, reflects a shift towards later childbearing. And so, Deputy Speaker, we may originally think, well, does it really matter if women are having their children a little bit later? Well, it really does, Deputy Speaker, because after about the age of 32, for most women, their fertility starts to decline at quite a rapid rate. And some of the social and cultural and economic impacts of declining fertility are that we will see a much larger and ageing population. We'll see a reduced working population. We will see increases in pressure on the healthcare system, challenges to our aged care and our pension systems, and cultural and social change, because if we are having our children later, there is less chance, for example, that children will have the advantage of having grandparents around them, and also for older Australians there is less chance that they will in fact be able to have the joy of grandchildren. And so, Deputy Speaker, what do Australian women do? And one of the other issues is, of course, and I don't blame the government for this, I blame them for most of the other issues with fertility, is a lot of women simply these days do not meet their partner until they may be in their 40s, for example, which is often when their fertility is really going to struggle. And so what we have found over the past decades or so is a process of egg freezing, and in that way eggs are preserved when a woman is in a high fertility part of her life, and then they can be utilised at a later date. But, Deputy Speaker, we need to do far more for women in that place. The process is not straightforward. It's expensive. It's prohibitive for most women. So I say that these fertility rate declines are a big problem. The Australian government needs to address this. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Authorised, Jenny Ware, Liberal Party, Sutherland.